Where were you 5 years ago? That was the question I woke up this morning and I asked myself. Leading up to my birthday, usually the 6 weeks prior to, that's when I do most of my goal setting. I do my goal setting, I think, a little bit different than other people, but those 6 weeks leading up to it are when I look backwards to say, am I moving closer towards, whatever the goals are, or am I moving farther away? And 5 years ago, so 2012, that was actually when I came to, I guess you could call it the acute realization that the window of time for me to have a family of my own was really starting to become very narrow. And I was pretty heavily vested on the competition track, and there was a lot of stuff that was happening at one time, but at that point in time, it just was like blaringly obvious that being on the path that I was on was not going to be moving me in the direction of having a family. So at that time, I actually elected to pull myself completely off of competition prep. And I think people saw me physically. It has physical ramifications. But, long story short, when you look at the things that are really important to you, and maybe for you it's not family, maybe it's whatever it is for you, that particularly if you're working on like a long-term project, that you always have to be able to keep that the idea, the vision in your head while you're doing the things to get closer to it. And for me, knowing that maybe a family doesn't come in the context of a marriage, maybe it's going to be coming through my adopting children from the foster care system. And so I was thinking at that time in 2012, well, if kids come in that way, most likely coming into the foster care system, they're going to need some sense of security, and they're going to need to have consistency in the people who are going to be with them and the value system so that they can learn how to trust. Right? So there's all these different things which, I've been working on, I guess you could say, in my mind. But if you look back through my Facebook feed, you're going to see that I started documenting this a long time ago to figure out who are the people, as a single mom, if that's how this plays out, I'm going to be able to count on. Who are going to be those families whose values represent those of, in our household. And so very early on, I started praying for godly men to make themselves known, because, whether I have boys or girls or, however, they're going to have those relationships. And I want to be sure that I do my best to get ready for, whatever God brings my way. So the moral of the story is this, is you bring with you your past, I think, and you bring like the best pieces of it as you move forward. But for me, looking backwards serves as a point, number one, of making sure, I am making heavy progress. And now finally I'm at this point, or, whatever. So it keeps you engaged in that game. But looking backwards serves as a very strong point for making a clear definition of exactly knowing what it is that you want and what it is that you don't want. And then again, from there, building your standards and constructing your life to move in that direction, if that makes sense for you. So obviously for me, it's taken quite a bit of time because it wasn't just like getting ready for a show. I mean, this was a whole different change of, everything that I was doing, finances and how am I going to, earn money and all these kinds of things. But the point of looking backwards, right? So make sure that you do take time for that, but think about it for yourself. Honest to God, where were you 5 years ago? Better? Worse?